Welcome to the AGORACOM.com CEO interviews, where we feature great undiscovered small cap companies to the small cap investment community.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Al O'Grady, and with us today is the president and CEO of Torch River Resources, Mr. Bill Pfaffenberger. Torch River Resources is an exploration company looking for moly, rhenium, and copper in British Columbia. Right now, it's focused on the Redbird property located at Haven Lake, as well as the Mount Copeland property situated near Revelstoke, British Columbia. Torch River Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TCR. Mr. Pfaffenberger, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
Good. Bill, let's get into further detail about the Mount Copeland property. You had released an update on that project recently. Bill, what's the latest?
Well, our objective this year was basically to get encouragement that we could find an extension to the ore that was mined back between 1970 and 1973, and the drill holes that we put in gave us encouragement. That is, we actually intercepted some structures that actually lead us to believe that we're on the right track. But if you read the report, you'll find that we've actually identified through the other work that we've done in doing some geophysics and some sampling the targets that we'll have for the next year. So there are actually two targets, both of which have the potential to bring in what we want, which is probably somewhere around 200,000 tons of very high-grade molybdenum ore.
Okay, now we touched on Mount Copeland. Give us some background on Mount Copeland. What's the history behind it?
Well, it was a producing mine from 1970 to 1973. They produced about 2.5 million pounds of molybdenum, and it was at a time when actually the price of molybdenum never got above $2. The last time I spoke to you, the price of molybdenum was around $33, and presently, and it hasn't taken long, like about 7 weeks, it's actually back down to around $10 a pound. But we're encouraged by the fact that the long-term demand for the metal is certainly in the cards. There's going to be a blip in here in terms of no one knows what demand's going to be like next year. But the response from companies in terms of cutting production, it's the first time I've seen it in my career, that basically within 3 weeks of the price declines, there were substantial announcements for substantial cutbacks in production. I think now, because the molybdenum price has stayed up for 4 years and been above $20, that it's the first time it's had a sustained time when it's not a big metal. There's only about 400 million pounds a year that's consumed. That has gotten companies so that they actually like those high prices, even the byproduct producers. So they're all looking at cutting production, which to me is, encouraging. I mean, I think if they overshoot the target, we could see a lot higher moly prices next year.
Okay. No, it's kind of interesting. You had mentioned, going from $30 down to $10 and so forth. Is this a problem, or does this actually present an opportunity?
Well, it's the way it's priced. It's priced actually not by the large consumers. The large consumers are in contracts where basically in a given month, what they pick up in that month is priced at the average price of the spot prices for the month before. And it's the spot prices which are the peculiar part of the moly market, and that is they're actually set by, sometimes only 25,000 pounds being sold in a week. These are just, truckloads of stuff being sold here and there that they record. Well, what happened was there isn't a large inventory of molybdenum in the pipeline, and what happened was some of the people who were holding not large amounts, but amounts that were significant in terms of dollar value of molybdenum got caught when the price started to go down, and they basically panicked and were selling at any price. Now, I have to admit that the orders for next year, normally a big company will be selling about 70% of their production forward to actual users. That figure is actually only about 50% going into next year because the steel companies just do not know what the demand is going to be. So it was really a very influx situation, which, you just have to sit back and wait and see what happens. But certainly in terms of being possible future producers, we're better off being future producers than presently producers.
Right. Okay. Sticking with the business end of things, I know you have a strategy, a certain plan, if you will, about near-term cash flow.
Well, sure. Over a year ago, our board actually came up with the observation that for small companies, really, I think what's needed is a cash flow that sustains your exploration operations. And so that was the reason we picked up Mount Copeland, because we know if we can prove up a reserve at Mount Copeland for a very modest capital requirement, we can actually put it in production and get a substantial cash flow. Now, on that same theme, we have been on the lookout for some other properties, and we're actually in the stage of some negotiations where we hope that we may have an announcement in January of further projects for the company. So that's our objective, and we're going to stick to it, and hopefully we're successful and can produce things for our shareholders.
Okay. You're talking about other properties. We did talk about Mount Copeland. We still haven't even touched on Redbird. Tell us the latest on the Redbird property.
Well, Redbird came through, and we were after higher grade intercepts, and we got them throughout the season, and in drilling the holes the way we drilled them, we're getting reports back on substantial increases in our in upgrading our resource from inferred to from indicated to inferred. So we've been very successful, but the problem is that the market's just not looking to the future, and we accomplished what we were out to do, which is what we promised to our shareholders, and now I just hope the market at some point recognizes it.
Right. The next 3 to 6 months, more drilling programs happening at Redbird and/or Mount Copeland?
Well, the thing is, both of them are in locations in British Columbia where actually our seasons are relatively late. In other words, the earliest we can get into Redbird is probably mid-June. For Mount Copeland, for the program for next year, we're actually looking at probably going in late August. So this is one of the other objectives. What we're looking for, we're trying to look for properties that actually would get us, all year-round possibility for our exploration. So we hope we'll be successful in announcing something.
Okay. I know you've been talking about moly. In my introduction, I had mentioned that you're involved with moly, rhenium, and copper. Do you want to address the rhenium story?
Well, rhenium, again, has been sitting out there as a standout in terms of shortages of the metal. Again, it would simply be a byproduct for us, but not all moly deposits have rhenium, and we have rhenium in Redbird, so the long-term prospects in terms of adding to the value of Redbird are there, and it actually, the metals that haven't backed off very much are these ones that are basically in deficit all the time, and one of them is rhenium.
Right. Now, what about copper? Is that pretty much gravy?
The copper would be too, and actually it's not as crucial in terms of the price. The crucial price in both properties is molybdenum.
Right.
I had mentioned before that we have a property called Grouse Mountain, which we did an initial program on last year. Interestingly enough, we've gotten a little surprise in the fact that the province for free has done a gravity survey, and give a guess where the largest reading is. It's actually right on our property.
Good for you guys.
So although it's in an early stages, it's very encouraging that we'll be going back in. Remember, that is a silver prospect, and we'll be going in this summer and going right into the target that they've given us, and doing some geophysics and some sampling, and just see what we've got.
Bill, I want to thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts with us about Torch River.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay. And Torch River trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TCR. And you've been listening to Bill Pfaffenberger, President and CEO of Torch River Resources, on today's Small Cap Show, produced by AGORACOM. I'm Al O'Grady. Thanks for joining us.